Hello everyone. Let me know if the audio or video is not working, but I'll assume it is otherwise. Let's get started. Morning. Hope everyone's well. Let me know if the audio and video is okay. We have, first off the rank, I have Adriano's comment that apparently I didn't get to last week. I'll start off with that. He asks, according to Rollo, men and women love differently. Why is that knowledge not passed to men earlier? Well, a lot of reasons. You look at society, it's pretty much what women want, what makes women smile, what makes them nod agreeably. You don't want to make women frown. But it's also, there's a large proportion of people that grow up with single mothers without a father. So there's not a lot of male mentorship. There's a lot of ways that you're not allowed to speak as a man. Men particularly are censored, whereas women aren't. You just take a look at the amount of men online who want to be honest, who have to hide behind an avatar and they don't show their faces on camera, compared to extreme girl power women who can show their face and they can say the most vile things even in the newspaper. They not only get to keep their jobs, they're patted on the back and they're rewarded. So everywhere you look, this knowledge is becoming really hard to find, because a lot of men aren't allowed to sort of share it openly and talk openly. Where the moment you start talking for men, you hear a lot of people say, what do you hate women? It's like, no, I'm talking for men. I didn't say anything against women. I'm talking about men, for men, positively. So there's a lot of factors in it. All right, there's a lot of, the last couple of videos, there was some really, really great questions, guys, and I want to showcase a few of them today. I was really happy with the amount of guys that extended that conversation forward in the comments section. And that's what I love. I mean, I only talk about my perspective, like the idea that I find that I've come up with, that I go, oh, I think this is really interesting and important, or this really helped me click this thing into place. And then after I do a video, one or two other guys will be like, yeah, that happened to me, or I think about it this way, and it's like a certain little other dial. It's like, oh, that's brilliant. I can see how that can really help another guy going through something slightly different or exactly the same thing, where the way I described it makes it people nod and say, yeah, that makes sense. But someone else voicing it in a slightly different way and with a slightly different insight will make everything click into place for that person. So that's why I encourage the conversation to keep going. Okay. Hope I answered that question, Adriano. Okay, remember guys, if you want to ask questions, make sure you make them stand out with emojis so I can see them in the live chat feed. In the meantime, let's get to some of the comments in the last two videos, which were all centered around, you know, the second last one was why you can't move on with your ex and why it still hurts you, why there might be some psychological baggage or an anchor there that never lets you move forward freely, you know. It's almost like you still got the handbrake on in the car and you're still trying to drive with the handbrake on. And the follow-up on was Stix's comment in the video, why you need to move on from your ex to something. cognitively and mentally, you need to move on to something. It's very glib when people sort of say, oh, just let go. Just avoid women. It's as glib as when someone says, just get rich or just get spiritual. It's almost condescending. You're not really helping people. You're feeling good about yourself by telling someone to do something difficult without a map with their eyes closed. So it's not that easy. There are some things when someone says it to me, it clicks into place and I can immediately see a way of doing it myself. Whereas sometimes it's confusing. They need to figuratively hold my hand so I can understand what might help me. And even then it might not help me. Periscopanian says, I'm reading Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. It's amazing how when they spoke about society and human behavior in their times, you can correlate to nowadays. Would you recommend Stoic literature? For sure. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is probably a common one that a lot of guys talk about. It still resonates today because he talked about human nature, man's search for meaning, man's building of his own compass, calibrating his own ethics and morals and things like that. That never goes out of style simply because we're thinking, living, breathing human beings. That's why it stands the test of time, and that's why this sort of stuff, men and women at heart don't change. We've got the same foundations. The environment around us changes, and say, for instance, with women particularly in recent times, it's taken the reins and the constraints off the worst parts of their female nature, and you can see the way they're acting without restraint. So when you leave people to act by their own free will, you see what they choose. You see when feminism came around, that what happened was, far from the promise of liberating women to sort of some intellectual heights, it did the exact opposite. Now we've got hookup culture and, women sort of showing their bodies and like being anything but the intellectual side. We want freedom to do all these great and wonderful things that we've been held back by, and they're doing the exact opposite. So when people are, this is why Stoicism is interesting, especially to men. It's looking at values and ethics, because at heart, I think men understand it because we've got no one else to lean on but ourselves. Women can always lean on men in society, but society has not got, men have not got society or women to lean on. They have literally only got themselves. Perhaps other men, but not to a great extent. Like, you really only have yourself to lean on. There is no one else beyond the man himself. Let's see if there's any questions. If there's, there are some questions, guys, I don't know the answer to, or they might be a bit childish, or you guys, I don't know if you're mucking around, but I either have no opinion or they're a bit too childish to answer. Ahmed Ghost, do you think happy marriages require regular active interaction, or can they be more distant and occasional? Depends on the personality largely. You can see some people, I see some people's marriages and they're always on the go, going out. They both don't like staying home, and they look like they're a match for each other. When you talk to them, they talk about current events. They're so cosmopolitan and distant. They're not an intimate relationship as far as I would see one, as I would like to be in one. But they're very much, going out, shopping, dinners, trips, blah, blah, blah. Whereas to me, it's exhausting. And you see the way they talk to each other is like a friendly business transaction, as though they were at work. They were work colleagues. They were very close work colleagues, and the language they speak to each other, it's not that friendly, intimate language, at least not the one that I was used to growing up in my family. And as I got older, that's the one thing I started to realize, is that you really try and recreate a large portion of the way you were brought up, the people you were brought up with, and your childhood, what worked for you, especially if you had an upbringing that you were really fond of, you're still close with your family, there was nothing you were really running away from. I've always wanted to recreate a lot, if not most of what the environment I was raised in, the way men and women interacted. That was a difficulty with me, and still is. I care less about it, but growing up, that was always a difficulty with me. Hey, Hammerhand. Yeah. EOS Log says OnlyFans is the success of feminism. The moment women can kind of do really sort of things that people would put down and think that are morally guttural, like, you know, whether it's prostitution, OnlyFans, things like that. Like now, you can make $1 million in a few weeks by taking your clothes off and being that kind of person that publicly you would say you would never do it, but you do it privately. You don't care because the ends justify the means, the money. And then later on, I've heard women say, well, why are men judging me by my past? Like, you know, it's not who I am now. Yeah, but there's certain things that sort of carry on. You know, a man can't pretend that you weren't. It's in the same way if you tell him, if a man tells a woman that he was a male escort, or I don't know, that in his past life he did stuff that was morally reprehensible, like he was a hitman, he killed people, whatever it might be. A sane, rational person has to kind of look at it from another person's point of view, not from their own. And this is what I see with women. They're very solipsistic. They're very self-referential, where, well, I want you to forget about my past because I'm ashamed of it, and I'm going to flip it around and shame you and put you down for not being bigger than that. I want to move on. Why don't you move on? No, you also need to take responsibility, because while you're doing it, these people that are doing OnlyFans, who are prostituting themselves in every way, they're saying, yeah, I know it's not right, but I'll look at all these cash and prizes. I'll just quickly do it, and then I'll get back to real life later. It's the person that says, let me just do, what was it? I remember, like, sometimes when you watch action movies and there's some like a gun for hire, or for instance, like the movie Heat, where there's professional criminals and they go, okay, one more job and then I'm going to retire. And I think that's what a lot of these women kind of do when they stay on the carousel too long. They don't want to settle down and start a family or get serious about having children. They say, like, just one more party, one more holiday, a couple more years of my career until I save this amount of money, do all this stuff. It's an excuse, because one more usually means one, you know, you're waiting for something to stop you because you like your lifestyle. That's the point. You know, I like eating donuts, but what is good for me long term? What makes, you know, if I keep eating donuts now and I don't exercise, I don't read, I don't take care of myself mentally and physically, the quality of my life as a result of that, a direct result of that, I know what I get. But what the moment of eating donuts is fine, it's fine, but come on. I get tired of, like, people need to sort of reintroduce and reflect the morals, the morals that will come back to bite you tomorrow, especially reproductively for women that say they want children. I'm sick of all these. I was looking for the right man while I was, you know, building my career, traveling, having all these affairs. You know, I've got time. And so many men were tired of hearing, I'm not ready yet, I'm too young to settle down. And women think that the time to settle down is their early to mid 30s, where biologically it's nonsensical, because men and women, men are the most excited and most attracted to women and will do anything for women. And women know this in their late teens, early 20s. Women are most reproductive then. Now, the fact that they're willingly delaying it and wanting to stay drunk at the party. This is what women are doing figuratively. I want to stay drunk at the party because I'm a celebrity right now when I'm young and fertile. Everyone wants me. I want to keep this going as long as possible. When it starts to go downhill is my early 30s. My looks, my fertility especially, like I can't deny it. You know, what is it? By your 30s, 90% of your eggs have died and dried up. You've only got about 10% left as a woman. So everything's knocking on your door. So it's hard to have sympathy. It's hard to have sympathy when you were given a lottery ticket and now you want to cash it in when you're older and it's only worth $5. And you're approaching men and telling them that it's worth $1 million and they need to pay up. It's like what, are you insane? It's objectively only worth $5. Like I can buy $1 million. There's $1 million lottery tickets that I can get that are 10 years younger than you. And women can get angry at it, but yeah, they need to self-reflect as well about the decisions they made. Look, nature's not fair. Women get front-loaded with all of their benefits early on, their looks, their fertility. Men get the benefits later in life. Once they, put it this way, the longer men are told, no, not yet, I don't want you yet, I want to focus on my career. Men during that time of not yet, sorry, not yet, not yet, not yet, a man goes on with his life, works, saves money, gets a job, builds a house, does all this stuff. And by that time, with all the rejection, he's like, I'm not interested anymore in all these people that are constantly rejecting me and telling me that I'm worthless and they laugh at me. You know what I've become used to in the last decade, making money, my single life, my friends, my stability is formed with that. The stability of my life has formed away from women, these women that are rejecting me. And so later on, when the people that are rejecting you say, okay, now I'm ready, it's like, no, I've grown now. Like I know what I value. I've saved all this money. I'm not going to risk it like I would have 10 to 15 years ago where I had nothing. Now you want to come at the end of my finish line and say, now I want to hold your hand. But this is old news, but it's sort of what men realize and what women don't want to. They want to stay at the party too long. Okay, I'm going to go down the chat and I'm going to focus on comments that have emojis next to them or super chats because there's a lot of comments there. We've got about nearly 300 viewers at the moment. But let's start off with one of the comments to the last couple of videos by H3000 where I said, why can't you move on from your ex? Why it still lingers in your mind? Why it still haunts you? He says it's the same thing with motorcycle close calls. You had your worst one. You had worse ones in the past, but you always think about the most recent. Yeah, I mean it's elementary. Like the thing that's close, the thing you're adrenalized even negatively by. Like, whoa, that was a close call. I dodged the bullet. Is the bullet you just dodged? You're less worried about the bullet you dodged 10 years ago. It's more of an interesting anecdote. Jason says, the last one also seems to hurt more because there seems to be a better chance of rekindling. This is another good point. A lot of people think, well, I was together with her. My biology's realizing that I'm throwing the eggs away with this girl. There's a proximity of her still being there. There's a chance of getting back. That's the anxiety. You're both drifting away and your biology is desperate for the both of you to hold on to each other. I think that's a large part of it too. It's a good point, Jason. Thanks for the positive comments, guys. I appreciate it. Armored Ghost, will there be a great reset for relationships? I don't know. These great global things like what will happen to men, what will happen to women, what will happen to society, I have no idea. But in terms of relationships, I think it's really up to each individual man to choose whether or not he's going to pretend to have amnesia, and all of a sudden all these women turn into Stepford wives and say, oh, I want to cook and clean again. I was never a feminist. And then you get with this woman and you see just a year or two ago she had purple hair, and, you know, she had girl power memes or fridge magnets that resemble girl power memes, and books on her shelf resemble feminism. Michael B., do you think breaking up with a dysfunctional person is extra hard because you have to give up hope for change? It's like leaving a slot machine for someone else to get the payout. That's a brilliant way of looking at it. You're in the casino and you don't want to leave that slot machine that you've put all that. Well, that's the central point, isn't it? You've invested so much money, time, and effort. Time's very important for men. Women's bodies are very important for them. But all this time and money we've spent, honestly, like we've tried to sort of put in. Our problem is when we see the dysfunction, because we value the time and money and effort we've put into this person and saying yes and accommodating, and rather than her softening and going, I appreciate this, and you think, oh, maybe she's just closed up. I'll give a bit more. I'll show her that she's got nothing to worry about, that she can be vulnerable with me, that she doesn't need to be rigid. All this stuff she's showing me is a front. She's bound to soften up, and then you just see, no, this is what she's like. I am trying to make her what I hope she'll become. So yeah, it's the amount of time and money and effort we invest. It's hard for us to walk away from that slot machine, as you said. It was a nice point, Michael. Barrett says, adopting nihilism is a great way to never be nihilistic again. That's a bit of a contradiction. I wouldn't be nihilistic because it's kind of giving up hope. Look, there's a difference between being... I've seen some guys who are black-pilled, who are very rational. They're just coming to terms with it. They just want to have nothing to do. There's just a low-level acceptance. That's fine. But nihilism, from what I glean, is just like nothing matters. We're going to die anyway, and who cares? Terry, will you take the vaccine, human? No, if I can help it. Perplexity. My view on how we view topics or info is like how a prism refracts light, and depending on the angle of the prism, i.e. our experiences, we see different answers to certain topics. That's a good analogy. See, that kind of analogy can really click into place for some people and help them understand why and how things they interpret them. Yeah, I would agree with that. EOS Logs says, human, do you think love is merely friendship founded on beauty? That's a really nice way of putting it. I would say that there's a lot of truth to that. It's a nice statement. Love is friendship founded in beauty. Nicely put. I agree. Armored Ghost says to EOS Logs, love is deeper than friendship because you take a bullet for someone you truly love. That's true, and especially if she's the mother of your children, there's like a deeper connection. You will take a bullet and die for both of them. But even before that, women that men love, they will die and take a bullet for them as well. Because I think when a man falls in love, he falls in love with his woman like he would his daughter. He treats her with the same level of sacrifice and a default yes reflex to anything and everything, and he feels good about it. This is the other thing. We get such a dopamine and adrenaline high, so much fulfillment for doing things for our families, for our women, for our children. because the respect, the reward, the honor amongst men, amongst society, amongst everyone, it's just an addictive high, and it's a positive high. It moves society forward. It moves the species forward. We reproduce. We take care of what we reproduce. Thanks for the donation, Scott. There's so many positives that on the surface, when a man does it, it's like, this feels wonderful. Look at the fruits of me giving and doing. There's no downside. The hard thing in that moment is if you're not aware of the reciprocity and you doing them by values. For instance, you trust that this person's going to appreciate what you're giving. That's the downfall. Not seeing down the road. You're not seeing the people you're giving to. You just think, oh, well, it just feels good to give. I'll just keep giving. And then when the feeling kind of subsides a little, then I'll reflect and shake myself off and go, oh, hang on a minute. That wasn't fair. I gave 100% and they gave barely 1%. That's the tricky thing. Because in the moment, it feels really good to give. Whereas women are much more aware in the moment of giving transactionally. They don't really give freely because they're so self-referential. They're aware of the loop. What about me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Men reflect on the what's in it for me later, not in the moment. So I think men are rooted in the moment of giving and being generous and being open because that feeling feels so good. Women are more attuned to, hang on a minute, before I give, will this keep coming back in this moment? And I'm aware of it coming back because women have the survival, like their nature is like, I need to survive. So however I open myself up and give, I better make sure that I don't suffer. Whereas men are more self-sufficient. We've got a lot more in our tank to survive ourselves as well as other women. Hang on a minute, I'll put my ISO up. Beautiful. It went from sunny to now overcast. Melbourne weather's like a woman with bipolar. And for all you sensitive, yes, or a man with bipolar. Yeah, a man on his purpose says, women love indeed resources. They love resources. Just like feminists they want equality. They do. I really know they do. Yeah, of outcome, not opportunity. Smart Guy says the other success of feminism is that some women have achieved high-powered careers that have made them insufferable to be around and domineering and selfish, only looking for a man to tame. Yeah, they get off on the dominant aspect of their position at work, and it imbues everything in their life. That taste of power. I mean, you only have to look at the small test case of women in preschool, high school. The way they're so catty, they backstab each other. Morally, they don't care about backstabbing and hurting each other, mentally, causing another girl pain, humiliating her, and all of them gather around and laugh and make fun of these psychological games. Men know that you kind of psychologically try to put me down. The next step is we put our fists up and we fight. So the psychological put downs is a precursor to actual physical fighting, and we actually think, is this worth it? So we tend to respect those that are more powerful or smarter than us. We don't psychologically manipulate because we know that very quickly the next step is a physical battle. There's a competition in the real world. It's not left in here. We don't. If you try and humiliate someone publicly, the response, and a man's response is, "Are you going to put up with that?" And you actually start fighting. Whereas a woman is like, I got humiliated. And if enough women stack on another woman, it's like she's powerless. It's very rare that like a group of men will will pile on another man physically and beat him up for no reason because it's dishonorable. Other men will see it as unmanly. It's manly for one-on-one. And that's the test. Mentally or physically, one-on-one is the test. So we have to better ourselves mentally and physically. Why do you think we like going to the gym? We like sports. We like competition. We like intellect. We like stoicism. You know, we like literature that'll make us smarter, which will lead to another strength. We like strength, and it's strength of our position and what we can achieve. Not strength psychologically over another, and we laugh at putting another down, because for us it's shameful to feel better by using childish tactics, schoolyard tactics to put others down. We tend to feel better about ourselves by using adult tactics to elevate ourselves, that others actually see us as either role models or they see us as a good bar to aspire to. Like, if we achieve competitively as men, we get the respect of others, and others want to move up in our direction. That's what makes us feel good, not putting someone else down. But today you see women's entertainment, they get off on putting other women down. Reality TV, you know, one woman gets humiliated or embarrassed, it's put on the front page, and everyone joins in that laughing and saying, oh my God, did you hear what happened to Nancy? Did you hear what happened to so-and-so Kardashian? All right, let's go through some of these questions. I'm just going to go down the ones that have emojis. Nothing says, heard many times you're not MGTOW if you don't live by this standard. I don't like the label because there's no quality control anymore. There used to be more of a quality control before. It used to always reflect on what the acronym stands for, going your own way. Now it's almost all focused on not touching the hot stove, which is fine. It's a good sort of thing, but it should be today. A lot of what MGTOW is should be just called MGTOW FM, as in from women. So men going their own way from women is what I see a lot of. He says you're not MGTOW if you're telling people how to live their lives. MGTOW is individualism, raw and uncensored. I agree. I'm talking, like, my videos are video journals. I always try, when I suggest, I'm not really telling you what to do, and I always remind, when I'm aware of it, I say, I don't want to tell anyone what to do. I don't want to give any advice, but if someone asks me about something, here is what I offer, this is what works for me, try this on. But by all means, guys, do not take my videos as instructions. They are suggestions, you know, things to chew on, ways to chew on something and to see if that kind of thinking helps you. My videos and what I'm espousing is improving your thinking as an individual guy and doing your own thing, developing the ethics that work for you, particularly for you, and morally what the right thing to do is, the golden rule. But I'm not telling people how to live their lives. I don't think I do. If there are suggestions, if there are things that you think that I have said those things, I'd like to sort of see you point them out. But also, it's more that I know I never liked people telling me what to do, and I'm careful not to tell others. The degree to which I do is, I think this is a good idea, but you do what you think is right. There are some objective things that, you know, yeah, do it if you want, but, you know, like, yeah, marrying someone in the first week because you just know. That's like, yeah, I'd still say do it if you want to, but here is why I think you're wrong. But do it if you want to. But I don't tell guys what to do. I want guys to think for themselves. That's a big part of my channel. Think for yourself. But look, I'll still associate and talk with MGTOW guys, and I have respect for what it used to be. But because the kind of videos I make and what I'm about as a guy is very different to extremists in the MGTOW community, I don't want to wear the t-shirt. I don't dislike the acronym. I was talking to and relating to a lot of MGTOW guys right from the beginning, so I have nothing against MGTOW. But today it's just very much become about women as the central axis by which you think and make decisions. And a lot of it's apophatic. A lot of it's what not to do, what stoves not to touch, laughing at the world and women and stuff. It's not a lot of self-reflection about what you can do and how you can think. Whoa, big jump. Okay. Christ, big jump. Okay. Armored Ghost, knowing what you do now, would you screen women for a serious relationship? I always have screened women for a serious relationship in the past, and I've always said I don't believe in the thing of don't talk about exes, don't talk about religion, don't talk about all these important things. Keep it light, because you're not going to get laid if you talk about serious stuff. That's true if you just want to do that. But if you actually really kind of initially see, like, you're out there to see if this person's a potential partner, you talk about everything that's on your mind that's important. You test them. You're willing for them to test you on important and moral subjects if you want to pick a mate, if that's what you want to do. Again, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you're the guy that, you wants family, you wants children, find out as soon as possible on the first date what they think about the very important subjects that will be complete deal breakers to you, so you don't waste any more time with them. Now, there's a way of actually asking those questions. You don't come out blunt like a nut job and make the person defensive. And even if that you could be compatible, she thinks, oh, this person's a bit too full on. But yeah, you always screen important people, romantic or platonic, that you're going to let into your life. Because if you don't, you just I don't know why you would let something like that potentially ruin your life if you let it in without vetting it. Thanks for the donation, Jerry. I appreciate it. I'm just catching up with all the super chats now. What role, Walter says, what role does a man play in women staying on the carousel? Not to shift blame, but something interesting to chew on. What do you guys think? Yeah, sure. If women don't have guys to fool around with and just, sleep around with, but in their 20s, this is the thing. Women are largely in charge of if they decide to sleep around. They've got the reproductive and sexual power. Women are cocaine to men. So women will sleep with a mildly attractive woman. Women will sleep with an ugly woman who has an average to good body. It doesn't have to be perfect. Men's standard, because of their biological addiction to women, is very, very low. So women can get relationships, they can get babies, they can get just a whole lot of stuff in their prime reproductive years. The fact that they don't, they hold out. They wait for the intersection where the window's declining. Men's interest is declining, as well as women's reproductive capacity is declining. And they're trying to meet at that very small point in their mid-30s where their reproductive capacities and their looks are drying up. They're hitting the wall, colloquially termed. And men's interest in women is drying up. So nature is saying, okay, show's over, and the lights are going on in the nightclub. The music has stopped, and everyone's desperately trying to find someone to go home with. That's people's problem. And I know, you're young, you didn't know then what you know now. I get it, but nature doesn't care. That's just the way it is. But yeah, look, men play into that too. If men aren't sleeping with these women, then women, you can argue, stay virtuous, I suppose, and honourable. And there are sayings in the past of men defending women's honour. But again, given all the power women are given in society and you can't say anything, they can do whatever they want. Well, sorry, you want to be responsible now. You're responsible with the dumpster fire of what your life ends up with later on. If you're offended at the mere suggestion that I have a conversation with a woman saying, you know what, I think you're being you're being, so if you're being somebody that no one really respects, and the same with these OnlyFans chicks, they're not really proud about it. They don't go in public and brag about where they make their money. They keep it quiet. They hope no one finds out. And when someone does, they cry about it and say, like, oh, that was behind a paywall. I can't believe, if you're popular, if you're really popular as a, someone who's showing their skin and basically low-level pornography, and you're just crossing your fingers that no one finds out. I mean, in my scenario, if the way I conduct myself, I'm always aware if it does come out that, I get more popular and people in my general life start to find out, there's nothing really that I'm embarrassed about in what I say and how I conduct myself. Whereas these women, they're doing things that in their fantasy world, it's like you watch those documentaries about ex-porn stars where they get older and how a lot of their lives are ruined and potential was ruined because it came out that they were ex-porn stars and, people couldn't accept their lives. Well, that's the reality of it. If you've been in prison a few times, how you conducted yourself as a guy when you were younger. I mean, it comes to bite you in the ass. And yeah, it's up to the person now you're dealing with if they have standards that will allow you to come in, that will give you a second or third chance. Most people don't. That's just the way it is. In the same way, reproductively and biologically, fat and ugly people, because of the decisions they might have made, how lazy they were, people with tattoos up to their necks and everything, they can't get jobs in corporate. Sorry, the decisions you make in youth that have an element of how you were raised, yeah, sure. If you didn't have parents that told you, no, don't get that neck or face tattoo. No, you're not staying up past, I want you home before 11, Jane. If you didn't have parents like that, or more often today, you have single parents, which the majority of the time is women. Men aren't, there's not as many single parent men. It's almost all of them are single parent women. They get the default child custody. You're being raised by women. And so the kind of women especially that are the result of single parent mother households, these are the kind of promiscuous women you get. The kind of mousy men that can't speak or haven't been kind of given good values are a result of no father or mentor in the house. And the mother and women in the family saying, you're nothing because you're a man. And just so much of this stuff has a concatenating effect to the man going forward as well as the woman going forward. HB says, my ex-girlfriend ghosted me. I've seen her today with another dude. Can you please give me some advice so I don't commit suicide? Ugh, it hurts so much. Be around friends. That's the main bit of advice that comes, like, it's the main reflex, is don't be alone with your head, because the kind of voice you've got in your head is kicking you and putting you down and making you think of the worst aspects. Be around people, talk to people, family and friends. Be around them as much as possible. Even if you can't in the short term, if you live on your own, stay at another person's place. Be around other people. The worst thing you can do is be alone, especially alone in your own thoughts. Let it out with friends. Hopefully you got friends that can kind of understand you. At this time, you're probably going to do their head in with, spewing all this stuff out, which you need to. Be around friends. That's the best thing. Be around friends. The very last solution is try and find therapy if you must. I'm not a big proponent of it. If you don't have friends and family you can talk to that are understanding, but be around friends. That's my main bit of advice. But also, I mean, don't turn the lights out for a woman, especially one that's moved on to another man. Like, that should tell you that she did not care. And it can hurt, but that should get you annoyed. Like, you cared a lot, she didn't. Like, that. So you're crying over a fiction. It's different if she cared and some guy took her away and won't let her see you anymore and she desperately loves you. No, she, of her own volition, threw you away and is wanting, with a smile on her face, jumping into bed with another man very quickly. That should get you annoyed, not feeling sad. That should tell you that what you have in your head, what you think love is between you and your ex, was never even there. She monkey brains to the first, her first response is to go to someone else. That would get me annoyed. The last thing in my mind would be like, I'm not going to give her revenge by turning my lights out. No way. That would probably give her a great story later on. Oh, look, he loved me so much. Look what he did. Look, I'm such a high value woman. Like, men are, can't even say the word. I don't want to get demonetized. Men are ending things because of me, because I'm so great. No way, man. They're the last people that anyone should be switching their lights off for. The very last people. They are worth so little in terms of moral respect. You wouldn't spit on them if they were on fire. Be around people. That's what I would recommend. Be around people, good friends and family. George says, I hear a lot of the word honesty, but not the word sincerity. Strange that. Which do you think holds more weight in a relationship? Sincerity. My first reflex would be, they can kind of be synonymous depending on how you talk about them, but I would say sincerity. Are they interchangeable, those words, honesty and sincerity? Because sincerity implies it might not just be words, it's how you conduct yourself, generally. I think they are interchangeable. Let me know if I'm incorrect. Krista, where do you see the society moving in terms of relationships between men and women? Do you think things will turn back to more traditional roles? No. Once we realize this is effed up. No. Men aren't going to forgive women. The manosphere is increasingly rising. Men have been taught that we're nothing for so many generations. Women laugh at guys. Men in their experiences, they've had relationship after relationship, tried. Some guys get tired of it. What women need to understand is men only have so much fuel in their tank of being nice and noble after they get kicked and rejected and laughed at. And no matter what they do and how nice they are, either we're told we're too nice, or no matter how much we shovel into a female hole, it's never enough. And we get discarded anyway for some guy that ostensibly looks like, why is she picking this drug dealing ex-con? Yet she always talks about she appreciates nice guys. After a while, a man just kind of gives up trying to figure women out. Initially, the question of what women want and how to figure a woman out is really interesting to guys, because we need to figure it out to get women. We need to ask them out and find out what they'll say yes to, for saying yes to us, so we can be sincere about like the kind of woman that will say yes to the honest aspect of that interaction between the two people. But once you sort of realize that what women say doesn't really mean much, and it's not me being condescending, it's just you look at women's choices and actions, it doesn't matter what they say. Women say a lot, their actions, they don't. Like, you just look at the way they diet. The diet industry is the biggest with women. They always know it's, they're starting their diet on Monday, but they never get around to it. What people find important is what they take action with. Everyone knows what the right thing to do is, but if you never do the right thing, then you're showing people with your choices what you value. Fair enough, we're not all perfect, but if you keep if 99% of your life is a lazy picking of the worst aspects, and a lot of people make a lot of effort in the worst aspects of their life, it's not up to you to change them. In terms of where society is moving, again, that's one of these big picture things that's largely out of my control, but no, it's not going back to traditional times. No. We're too connected in the world. Like when before the internet, before mobile phones and so forth, we were more, I had to relate to the friends, the groups of people around me. So if I was with my friends and my family and my friends, I'm out with my friends and we meet a group of girls, and one of my friends starts dating one of the girls, and we're in that group. For me to date one of the girls there, I'm under the observation of all my friends and the other girls, and so I can't actually screw her over. And she can't be seen as being promiscuous. She can't be loose. So she's going to be judged by the other girls around her because they can see that we're trying to get together. We like each other. We're going on dates. So we can't do it behind closed doors. So there was a lot more openness and a risk of being shamed by your group, your family, your friends. So it needed to be meaningful. Whereas now you can do it in the privacy of, you can have separate lives. I can go out and live a double life. As a woman, you can go out and you can sleep with a lot of men anonymously, not in your immediate area. You can go online on Tinder and you can hook up with like hundreds of men on the other side of town, people that your family doesn't know about, and you don't even go out in public. You just message on your phone, you meet up, you do the deed, you come back, and you pretend, that's just an escape. It's a holiday that I don't tell people about. It's not my real life. Whereas before, your real life was imbued in your sexual life as well. But short answer, it's not going back to normal. As the saying goes, the toothpaste is out of the tube now. And again, this is why women need to think about the future now more. You're not responsible for anything. Women can do anything. Yeah, you can do anything. But then tomorrow you're responsible for it. Oh, I don't want to be. Don't care. Nature doesn't care. Tomorrow nature doesn't care if you wasted all your reproductive years in your 20s and you tried hundreds of guys and you weren't ready yet and you wanted your career and you wanted to travel and no guy was perfect enough. I'm going to wait for perfection when I'm 40. Then I'm going to find Mr. Perfect. No, you won't. When you're 40, you're going to take the garbage that's left over. You're going to take guys that are scarred. You're going to take guys that have no patience for your BS anymore and aren't going to tolerate your, la-di-da, I'm perfect, I'm the best attitude. It's just the way it is. Treat people nice when you're younger. Be around nice people. Don't say, I'm going to go on these adventures and I'm going to be a spoilt brat. And then later on, I'm going to grow up. You're not, because you cement your personality and how you relate to people as life goes on. You can't suddenly, when you're 30 and you're 40, go, now I'm going to be a nice person. You're not, because the reflexes you had that you developed in yourself when you're younger, they're going to be baked into you. You're going to be your own worst enemy, because you're going to want things when you're in your 30s and 40s as a woman, and as a guy in a lot of ways too. This is why a lot of us are trying to understand how we think and move forward in life. At least we're reflecting on that. We always had to as guys. If we didn't self-reflect how we'd act and think and speak, we wouldn't get the woman. We wouldn't get the job. We wouldn't actually build anything in our lives. Women have the ability to sit back and be fed grapes, and society think they're entitled and, privileged and all that. But then the privilege stops. You think of it this way. Women are born into a rich Hollywood family. Then in their 20s and 30s, they slowly get kicked out until in their 30s and 40s, they're homeless on the street and they don't get an inheritance. Scott, thank you for the super chat. He says, my ex is dating a successful businessman, divorced with 2 kids. How do I get away from the idea she upgraded? It's been a serious hit to my confidence. Time will help that. Again, be around family and friends. Involve yourself in routines, especially with other people, so you don't stay in your own head. Things like that. But unfortunately, in that moment, it's like when you kind of get scarred or hurt, bruised. There's going to be pain. You can't imagine the pain away. Unfortunately, at that moment when it happens, you have to eat the pain and the experience. But resolve yourself that you know it'll the pain, the scar will heal. It always does. That's the rational part of it. It's not like that. The wound is only going to stay open if you pick at it. Be around people, create routines where you can distract yourself as much as possible, even if it's just physically doing things, going places, being with friends. But don't stay in a headspace where you wallow in thinking about her and being miserable. That's the worst thing you can do. Okay, I'm going to go down. Eric, do you also think both genders manipulate other to get what they want? And you also think that parents are more narcissistic than non-parents? Depends. There's a cliche of a lot of parents, they push their kids to be what they never could be, especially in sports, like fathers. They push their sons and things like that. Lewis, thank you for the super chat donation. I'm grateful. He says, you often mention love should be like playing a tennis match. A lot of my experience is that they have this belief that they're putting effort and giving when in fact they aren't, or is minimal. How do you deal with that human? Let them know. When you notice, like I said in the video, like it gets to a point when you have to ask them, like, what the hell do you do for me? You actually say, like, what do you do for me? Can you tell me what you do for me? And if they say it's sex, you say, no, that's mutual. What do you do for me? And if you can point out, like, I drive you, I chauffeur you everywhere because I feel good about it. I don't want you to drive. I want you to be in the passenger seat and I drive you everywhere. I'll pay for things. I'll open door, like, I'll protect you. And each person's different. Like, you might do specific things just for her because you know she likes it. You go to picnics for her. You watch movies because you know she likes it, not that you like them. You go shopping. You do a lot of things just for her, and you do them with a smile on your face. And when you ask her, and if you notice that she doesn't reciprocate, so if once in a while you say, oh, let's watch an action movie, I really like such and such, or come and watch one of my football games. I don't like football. You go. So if you're always wanting to share the parts of her life that she finds important, and she's grateful that you do, but she never does one thing for you, voice it to her. That's why I encourage guys to think and speak better and learn to do it openly, because if you keep a lot of this stuff inside, you will notice and see these things in a relationship with a woman, but you won't know how to approach them, because your instinct is don't upset the woman because you don't want the eggs to go away. Your biology doesn't want the woman to go away. You don't want it. But your biology doesn't want to discard any woman that you've got, because your biology wants her near. But if your ethics and morals have been developed and you know how to speak about them, it's part of good communication with anybody, platonically or romantically, that you can say, hey, I see this. Why don't you want to come to the football game? It's part of good communication. It's part of you, more importantly, expressing who you are. The good thing about expressing yourself like I am, which I try and do more and more with you guys in relationships with my family and friends, is that I feel alive because I'm expressing who I am. So in a relationship, you feel great. You should feel great, even with the dangerous stuff that you think, I shouldn't say this because I don't want her to leave. But it's right to say it because I'm expressing who I am. What's the point of her thinking you're a good guy in her imagination? I want her to think I'm a good guy, not just because of what she sees and observes, but because I confirm it with what I say. Then I know in the totality I can be more or less as sure as I can be that she sees me for who I am. But if you never speak up, how much does she see you for who you are? It's mainly what she interprets in her brain, and it could be largely a fiction. And if you just do everything she says, it's her relationship, it's not yours. If you want it to be your relationship, speak up. Sorry, the roundabout way of saying it. Let's see. Another question. Well, a response from the last video. Lat QCD92 says, the reason you miss your most recent ex and not the others is the same reason you feel more pain from a current wound over the old one. Yeah, this is sort of common, but I thought it was a nice way. It was a common thing to reiterate here. It's fresh. The wound's fresh. An open wound is going to hurt more than one that's partially healed. And this is a good thing to remember for the guy that said he can't get over his ex. What should he do? It's a fresh wound. And in a primitive way, a guy's got to learn to take a punch. Psychologically, the pain's going to go away. Take a punch, guys. Eat the pain. It's not going to last forever. And most of the times it makes you stronger later on. Tiger Mania, your brain is craving the easiest source of that serotonin and dopamine hit. This is why you can't move on from your ex, and associates the last one as the place you obtained it. So that's an important one. Your brain associates the last person you were with, your ex, as the last person you could get your serotonin and dopamine hit from. You are sort of a love addict until you kick the habit. So basically you're detoxing. You're basically going cold turkey from being an addict. So that's a good way. Like, that's the last place you got your serotonin and dopamine hit. Nicely put. Thank you, Tiger Mania. Grumpy Old Man, 2 quick questions. Do you ever remember selfless acts of sacrifice in history towards a man by a single woman? For myself, yes, but that was my mother. But if you look at it, it wasn't selfless. I was her son. Selfless, I can't remember it. No. A woman sacrificing for a man or men in general as a moral and noble gesture, no. Not going to happen. Woman's instinct is to protect herself. Man's instinct is to protect everyone else, and then he's secondary. If he can protect family, kids, and society patting him on the back, he'll do that because he knows he'll get a lot of affection. It's a noble thing to do, unfortunately. And second question, would you consider a date with a HC feminist? What's a HC feminist? I'll talk to anyone if they're civil and intelligent. I've had 1 or 2 good conversations with feminists in the past, but admittedly they were older ones, in their 50s and beyond. They were from the first wave, where they were women who were responsibility feminists, not today's coddled and privileged, entitled bunch. Today's bunch want to punch you like a man, then hide behind their vagina. Whoa, big jump. Okay. All right. It's just been a big jump, so if I've missed a few questions, not my fault. Wet Palette Warrior, humans are really great at up a good thing. Yep. Yeah, Coiled Steel, avoid the new cheating apps. Most dating apps today are cheating apps, aren't they? See yet. Where is human from? UK? No, Australia. Thanks for a lot of you newbies who have dropped in. Remember to hit the subscribe button. Like I said, I look at my stats. I looked at my stats the other day. There's a section where I can see statistics of where people are, what part of the world you guys are usually in, times a day, America, and so forth. Nearly 60% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed. And I think a lot of you guys think you are, but YouTube unsubscribes you automatically during updates, things like that. If you haven't clicked regularly enough, I don't know how it works, but 60% of people who watch my videos are unsubscribed. So have a look, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, and select all, and make sure that's on. That way it's always going to notify you of the next video I make. So Yeah, and hit the like button if you feel like it. Support my channel any way you can. Otherwise, if the channel starts disappearing, there's no point me putting so much effort in. Remember, highlight your questions, guys. Leon, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Thanks for supporting my work. Jerry says, I was a carpenter, farmer, truck driver, and heir to a land fortune. All I wanted was a loving, stable woman. Yeah. I wouldn't tell a woman you've got a fortune. You become very attractive. Because it's just biology. You can get angry at biology, I suppose, but basically, a woman cares about your character and all of that sort of stuff. But the gatekeeper to all of that is your financial stability, your security. She'll be taken care of. So if you get through that gatekeeper, she cares a lot about who you are as a person, your interests. But when that gate closes, you lose your job. You don't have the security, the finances, and all that. You can't go on dinners. Basically, what that does from a woman's point of view, if you've got money, a lot of power, you can afford anything and you can protect her from life, and you've got the money to do that. It basically means that she can be relaxed and open. Whereas if she sees this guy is jobless, homeless, he's got a nice character, but like, and also her biology is thinking about children in the future and nesting and things like that. And ultimately, she kind of knows she can't or won't or doesn't really want to work. Harder than the man that's with her. Biology. For good or ill, I can take care of myself, so I've always just wanted a woman who likes the person. I wanted a friend that I found sexually attractive. But unfortunately, biology has its own... and the funny thing is, women will tell you this, like, oh, that's all I want too, human. It's like, yeah. So many of us don't act that way, though. For most people, unfortunately, especially women, the gatekeeper for appreciating those human qualities is money, finances, security, and so forth. If you can pass that gatekeeper for them appreciating who you are, yeah. But then once that gate closes, you think I gave you all of this stuff when times were good. Wasn't I? Don't I have some goodwill to draw on now? Now I'm on hard times. I've got a disability. I've lost my job. I'm having an existential crisis. Will you stick by me? No. It's not money that's been put in the bank with a woman. It's money that's burnt in the moment. So when you need some of that returned later on and saying, look at all I gave as a guy, this is where guys have a hard time. It's like, for years and years I gave financially, supportively. Now when I need to withdraw from the bank a little bit for myself, they're saying, no, there's no money for you. Sorry, we'll cut you off. I'm leaving. It's because another man, if you did it to another man, we have a sense of honor. We go to sleep at night, and it's hard for us to ignore the guilt and shame we feel because we owe this person. Women don't feel like that. They don't owe you anything. They owe their feelings in the moment something. They owe their feelings of security something. Again, guys, when you're going through this stuff, especially immediate heartbreak, I'd say, like, be around family and friends and create routines where you can distract yourself intentionally as much as possible until naturally... What's that saying I heard? It's kind of like nothing will get rid of the heartache. It will be the first thing you think about every day until one day it will be the second. Will, thank you for the donation. Thanks for supporting the channel. Keep hitting the like and support button, the bell icon. Share my videos around on your social media too if you can. Okay, let's see some more questions. No, did that one. Yeah, new game, +1. This is a good comment. This is one thing that guys don't acknowledge. He says, I miss the idealistic outlook I had, the belief that love could truly conquer all. I gave my all. Years of my life, weathered all the storms, and in the end was discarded anyway. I no longer have the ability to dream in a romantic sense, and that is what hurt me most of all. That's an important one. Men are fairly romantic in that aspect, and as I said, we've only got so much fuel in that tank, and if we've given so much, it's like if there's a little bit left over after that, if you've survived, it's like I'm giving that to the family and friends and the life I have left. I don't have any more to live. And people can keep shaming you and saying, give me the remainder of your fuel, try again, find another girl. It's like, well, I don't want to. I'm not angry, but I don't want to. And they get annoyed. It's like, why aren't men? Men are just bitter. It's like, no, this is the consequence of not being raised nobly, of the way people parent, our values being we can do anything, we can treat each other the way we want. Act like children, you get the results of acting like children. It comes up and catches up with you later on in life, because later in life, you have to grow up at some point. You can try and act like a child as, into your 40s and 50s, but when the world doesn't accommodate your childish behavior anymore, you're invisible. You're left on your own. You don't have friends. You can't find partners. No one wants to hook up with you anymore, because you have no other qualities. And Ghost, do you think there's a fundamental issue with men and women perceiving reality differently? Oh, yeah. Yeah. F yeah. Men and women perceive reality constantly on almost every... I notice it when I speak to women in my life and I speak to men. I speak about an issue and the guys will invariably get the perspective from which I'm coming from. A woman will be looking from another perspective. It's so often it's like, what? You that's not what I'm saying. It's like, or that's not what I meant. So men and women constantly reference their thinking from a different structure, from a different vantage point, from a, our trajectory, like on certain topics, are angled from a different point, whereas a woman's is very different. For one, a lot of her thinking is self-referential. Almost all of it is. It's like it's always born from the self, like, it's about me, it's about me, it must be about me. Whereas a man can... his reflex isn't self-referential. If you're talking about something abstract, if you're talking about the world or women or men in general, we're not thinking about ourselves. We can think about men. When you're talking about men do this and this, oh yeah, men. But when you say to a woman, women do this and this, it's like, oh, you're talking about me. It's like, no, I'm talking about women. So women's and men's reflex is just vastly, vastly different. You can see it in just speaking to women about subjects, especially ones that are a little bit more than just your pedestrian, today's weather is nice. Michael says most women will eventually become alpha widows. That's true. You'll have our YouTube channels, how to be an alpha widow. Rithcore, I'm at the exact same point. My nice tank is empty. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Your nice tank gets depleted in your 20s. I still get laid, but I'm not that kind of man anymore. Be heartless, be ruthless. I wouldn't say be heartless and be ruthless. Now, what you give you've got boundaries and you're very particular. You can actually see people who are worth giving or not, and you've got limits by which you give as well. It's like, oh, this person seems like I'll give a little bit to them. You give it a little bit, and your experience tells you like, no more. Or I can continue to give this person whatever, but to this extent. You're not an endless stream of giving. A lot of like overly spiritual, like unicorn people will say, oh, what's wrong with boundless giving, boundaryless giving in love? It doesn't help you and it doesn't help the other person. It doesn't in the long term. I've tried it in the past. It doesn't help. Helps nature sometimes, not you or the other person, especially in the long term. George says, sincerity, I think, is intent without sin, pure intent, without missing the mark. Citation needed, though. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if there's really if there's much of a distinction generally about the terms sincerity and honesty. I think you can use them interchangeably in a sentence, and they can mean the same thing in context. Here's an interesting one by Boffin. Over the course of time, red pill discernment will in many cases progress to black pill realization. Yeah, you finally realize what is what. You've tried being the nice guy. You've tried doing what you think is right, given what everyone says is the Bible of what is right in society. You come to a black pill realization. And when viewed through the prism of dispassionate hyperreality, you cease fretting about what you no longer desire, even the most recent ex. This is true, because I often find I'm not actually that hurt that I lost an ex now. As I got older, I'm not that hurt that I lost her, but rather I failed. That's what I came to realize. I failed at that relationship. And I know it's not my fault, but it's not her per se. I'm disappointed in myself and the thing. So the female becomes almost inconsequential, especially after it's over, because they all tend to end the same way, because of biology and female nature and women's never-ending and unrealistic expectations. So they're all ending the same, but the model of person is different. So it's more of a feeling of failure, and not necessarily that I lost that particular person. Because at the end, if it's failed, and particularly when you don't want to chase it anymore, there's nothing there. For me, it's been a feeling of failure more than I've lost the person. Vladina74, I miss the idealized version of her, but not the real one. No way. Yes, that kind of points to what I just said. Like, you've got this image of what you thought she was, and you fight to keep it until you can't anymore and you break up. You're trying to keep a fictional version of her alive that you thought she was earlier on. So you miss the idealized version of what you thought she was or what you hoped she'd be. And she probably misses that too. She had an idealized version of what you could become. It's a different way of thinking for women. We like who she was, or the act that I said in a previous video that she dropped because she wanted to be with you. She misses the person she wanted you to become. She misses the raw material that was going to become the perfect ideal man. How long have we been going for? 1 hour and 18 minutes. It's been a good one. I thought the last couple of videos about why the last ex, like getting rid of that residue and moving on from particularly the last ex, because we don't, like, there's some guys that have said like exes from 10 years ago or 2 or 3 exes from, from the past are still on their mind, but there's not that proximal, like weight, mental weight and anguish, like the last one was. And I thought that was an interesting subject to talk about. The getting over the last one and moving forward, or going your own way from that, because the past of older ones where they seem like they're photos in an old scrapbook, that's fine. But the last one, there's this kind of semi-connection to them still, and it frustrates you. You want to move on. You want to forget them, but you're having dreams about them. You think about them on certain days where you wish you wouldn't. Yeah. Anonymous said, in terms of missing the last one, he said, not true. I only miss one particular one, not the rest. As men, I think we only get one shot at something real. I've heard this a few times. I may be inclined to believe it. Probably women do too. I don't know. In terms of they regret that one guy that they said no to, or they let go. I'm pretty sure it'd be the same for both. Women love over and over again because their love isn't like ours. That's also why they leave more too. I think women are driven by their feelings and impulses much more, and because if in their 20s especially they feel like I've still got it, I can still get a man, the grass is always greener. But I think in terms of regret, I'm guessing there's similar aspects to men and women that we look back and go, yeah, that one was my best one. I should have tried harder. I wonder if I took a left turn instead of a right turn, whether we'd still be together. That's an interesting one. I've heard a few guys say that we only get one real love in our lives. I think back to mine, I think I had two. Two that I think were the better relationships. So I really, really cared for the person. Things were great, but it didn't work out. Remember, make your questions stand out with emojis or super chats, guys, just so I can see them, because otherwise it's just all you chatting with each other, which is fine, just so I can quickly go through the stream, because last time I missed someone's super chat, and I don't like doing that. JW, ever notice how every woman sees herself as the princess of her own fairy tale? Yep. My wedding will be great. If my husband doesn't cry when I walk down the aisle, I'm turning around. It's exhausting. Yeah, look, I think whether guys want to admit it or not, the wedding day is hers. Shouldn't be, but it is. Every decision has to be pretty much what she wants, and the guy needs to go, oh, okay, all right, I agree with that, or let her have it. That's the worst thing a guy can do throughout a relationship all the way through is, oh, let her have it, let her have it, let her have it, especially if you're not looking at you're getting anything in return. Especially when you start to feel exhausted, like you get a feeling of unhappiness or tiredness, or you don't like being around her much, or you need your own space. I think it's that you're shoveling too much into a one-way street. When it's a two-way street, I notice in my relationships and other guys I've spoken to, you don't question these things. You don't kind of think about, oh, well, I've done these things for her, but I'm not getting back. It's not fair. When there's that tennis match of reciprocity, you don't even think about it. Things are just very easy and good. You don't feel like you need time away from her. You naturally, if you need time away, it just happens, and there's no needing it. When you start having to think like the way we are now in a relationship, you know there's an imbalance, I think. Ivan says, how long does it take to know a woman enough to decide on having kids or life together? Again, individual, but I would say, given today's environment, I'd say years and years. Because with a woman, she wants the monkey branch because her biology is saying, don't waste your time. So if she is wasting years with you, years of her reproductive years, and you're honest with her and you both communicate honestly, you don't stay silent, and you're communicating properly, she knows everything about you, you know everything about her, you don't argue, you like each other's personality, and you've been together for years and years and she's never complaining, you're on the same page. You know, you take baby steps if you're worried about this stuff in the law. You know, you've been with her, what, I don't know, 4 to 6 years or something, and then you decide you might want to move in together, but not into your place or her place, but you rent something together to see if you can live together. Or before that, I made a video, you go on an extended holiday for months to see if you can stand living under the same roof with this person. So you do all these rational things to really cement, not you hope you can be with her, but you know you can be with her. Yeah, she can change her mind. She might not love you anymore in 10 years. But if you want children, I mean, what can I tell you? There are a lot of guys that you can't talk them out of it. Take the rational steps. Don't rush into things with women, no matter what women say, because what women say and the choices they make are vastly, vastly different. Because remember, there's an age-old saying, a woman's prerogative is to change her mind. So don't believe anything she says in the moment. Let her prove her values and morals over a long period of time. Because if a woman's enjoying being with you over years and years and years without complaint and issue, and you get along with like best friends, and I mean really get along like best friends, you're not just saying it to keep her, then that's a good sign, I suppose. Mr. Highway, thank you for the donation, man. He says, my last ex was so long ago, I can hardly tell if it was even real. Yeah, see, that's the thing. The ones that are so far away, they're almost like a movie. You're not even sure sometimes if it was real. I remember talking the other night with family, and we were talking about sightings of UFOs or things like that. And I was talking about one time I think I saw a UFO when I was a kid, and they're saying, well, you can't really be sure about your memory as a young person because that could have been a dream or your imagination. I go, you know what? That's probably, you're right. I can't be 100% sure if what I'm imagining I saw when I was a kid was just a dream I was having or imagination or whatever. And it's the same when you're looking at old relationships. They seem like another person's movie. Because it's not proximal, it's not your life now, which again, why I made the last couple of videos, why the last person might be connected to you, because they're the last person, they're the closest person to who you are now. The proximity of the person who's just drifting away, your biology wants to hold on to them. They're still figuratively somehow within arm's reach. Mr. Highway continues, I can hardly tell if it was even real. If it weren't for the scars that it left, I would think it was an old dream. Yeah, especially when you realize you reflex based on scars of old relationships with new people. And you go, I think I'm acting that way because of so-and-so. JW, do you think introspection is reserved for smart people only? I feel like most people I meet will just never get it. They'll never be able to pinpoint their weakness, insecurities, and desires. A lot of it has to do with what was mentioned before, honesty and sincerity. I value it in my life. I value it in a woman. She doesn't just say these things, she ethically practices them. I want to see honestly. I like reality. I like sincerity. So I think with introspection, you don't need IQ necessarily, although it helps you go into depths and concept connect. But I think sincerity and honesty helps with introspection, especially if you want to be honest with yourself. Because a lot of people go, I want others to be honest, but they never do. So you don't want others to be honest. You want others to be open, but you don't want to be. The courage is for you to be honest and sincere with yourself. Ties into this question, I think, from George. How much of men's suffering can be attributed to making and tolerating excuses from themselves and others? Yeah. Confusion generates ambiguity, which breeds evil. It all starts with an excuse. Yes. Be honest with yourself, how you think, how you speak. Be courageous enough to know how to form your words, to ask for what you want, to say no when you want to. All this stuff. It's just so liberating to be more of who you are, or as best as you can be, given where you are at the moment and what you know. Called still, watch your six. It's a military term. And careful of California expats that will try to turn your state into another California. Yeah. Krista, what would you choose? A person that cares about you and loves you but always criticizes you and talks negative? Well, that person doesn't care about you and love you. That's a contradiction. Behind your back, a person who doesn't care about you but your sentence structure is awful, Krista, but I'm trying to make sense of it. But always criticize you and talk negative behind your back, or a person who doesn't care about you but says the right things. I don't think they kind of exist. That's kind of a fantasy. If someone cares about you, they won't always criticize you and talk negatively about behind your back. They will say the right things. I don't think that happens. That's like saying, I don't know. You know, a person that loves and cares about you is punching you in the face. And, yeah, a person that says they'll never hit you, hits you. I don't know, bad analogy, but you know what I mean. That's kind of justifying staying in an abusive relationship where you know the person doesn't care, but you're trying to make excuses. A person that cares about you won't talk behind your back, will respect you, cares about you, protects you, things like that. We all know what the right thing is. JW, which historical figure scares you the most and why? Scares me. Historical figure. I don't know. I'll think about that one. Scares me. No, like they're in history, so they don't scare me anymore. Which historical figure? Probably like a more barbaric age, like someone like Attila the Hun. Someone like that. Someone very cruel. Almond Ghost, true or false? Men and women should never share a bathroom. False. I've shared bathrooms with nice women. But you definitely need your own space. Okay. Yep, Mr. Highway says likes are free. Yeah, like guys, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and select all because most of you aren't. You think you are, but you're not. YouTube regularly unsubscribes people, especially ones that may not have clicked on the last couple of videos or whatever. Not that you need to, but this is what happens. They kind of see you haven't been active in certain areas or on certain channels, they unsubscribe you. They force you to be active, unfortunately. So I'd wish when you subscribe, you stay subscribed, but it doesn't happen. Okay, we've been going for an hour and a half. Let's head down the finish line. And a couple more comments from the last videos. Ramiro, this was a really good one. I want you guys to pay attention to this one. He goes, let me talk to you on a spiritual level. When you emotionally invest yourself into a woman, you lose a part of you that you will never get back. All that pillow talking, time, energy, and emotion puts you in a state where you're giving pieces of yourself away spiritually. When it's all over, it's not her that you loved, but the part of you that you gave away. This is very important. I really like what he's saying. When you see her, you see the reflection of yourself that you gave away, and that's what you truly love. When we as men are givers and women are receivers, so if she wanted to give that missing piece of yours back, she can't. You will die with a missing piece. You will die with a missing part of you. This is why you men need to stay away from your emotions and protect your spiritual self. Love, but love with emotional detachment. That was very profound. Thank you very much for that. That was a really, really good comment. You give yourself parts of yourself away that you'll never get back. That's what you miss. You know, you empty that tank of nice guy and you can't get the fuel back to you. So when they say get over it, You can't get over those. Like those scars, they're not, sometimes they're scars, but they're depletions. You only have so much of that in you. Men only have so much testosterone in them. Men only have so much nice guy, naive sort of person in them that they would have given to a person that was nice earlier on. But if women kind of pause that in their 20s and we keep getting rejected, and a woman will only start to accommodate men, or she thinks she will, in her 30s and 40s, it's over. We've thrown our fuel away in our 20s. And that's why it's sort of, to me, it's condescending and irritating when they say, well, don't give up. It's like, I don't care anymore. The fuel's burnt. It's like there's no fuel to care with. Well, that's what annoys me. You poking at me saying, well, find another unicorn. No, I've only got so many, quick burns of wanting a unicorn the younger I am. There's only so many meaningful relationships I have the fuel for. I'd like to, but by this point I'm pretending, and I can't pretend. When you get older, everything has to mean something. Everything has to be honest. And if I don't care anymore, or if I care much less, and if I'm virtually non-romantic now, because women have shown that they're not romantic, I can't pretend that I buy your lies anymore. Like, if you show me, but I'm not going to take it on face value like I did when I was in my 20s. Good point, though. Light artists, 4, 3, 2, whatever. Fun fact, lose feelings for your ex on average takes 6 to 12 months to get over, and quitting hard drugs takes 2 to 4 weeks. That's an interesting point. It takes longer to get over heartbreak, someone you had a meaningful relationship with. Like, if that's an addiction, I know it usually takes me, someone who I was deeply in love with, it takes me roughly a year. But quitting hard drugs takes 2 to 4 weeks. Stay safe. Indeed. Indeed. Coiled steel. Yeah, look, I'll say it to you here. Can you just avoid taking the bait of that woman on that video that you keep talking to? You're saying she's tempting? Well, it's your own fault you're taking the bait. Like, I'm sorry, man. You keep making her appear. If you ignore bad women, they disappear. You keep throwing kerosene on her irritating you. And if you won't stop, she's going to burn you up. How many years of your life have you wasted on that video of mine with her? Think about how many years of your life she has wasted because you have poured kerosene on it. I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to give her attention, but you seem to want to. JW, would you agree that once people reach a certain point in their introspection, they often become arrogant and develop a God complex that must then be contended with? I notice it in MGTOW circles. Yeah, they do. There are a few guys. I mentioned in my video about sort of life coaches, and there's a lot of PUA style God gurus that are teaching men how to be alphas and make money, and it's not sort of real stoic, introspective, or philosophical. It's just kind of PUA rhetoric dressed up with modern materialistic kind of, I don't know what you call it. A guy who's really self-reflecting on a trauma he's just had, and all he gets is like, make money, chase success, women will be attracted to you, don't give an F. It's like, that's not useful, man. Later, when I've healed, maybe, if I want to make money and start a business. But at that moment, it's almost condescending. Sam, what kind of healthy diet do you recommend? Intermittent fasting, eat healthy, don't eat crap food, you know what that is, and exercise regularly. It's not rocket science, but it's consistency. If you can make it consistent, that's pretty much it. Dr. Strangelove, what percentage of your subscribers are aged over 50? I think it's in the teens. So it's like around 15 to 16%, I say, or maybe like could be 12%. I'm not sure. Majority are early to mid 30s. Majority of my subscribers. Funnily enough, it's the period I remember in my life, and most guys, they start to around 30. The interest goes away from solely women to starting to find the world interesting and themselves. Their testosterone declining. So another reason, if you want a family and kids, you do it in your 20s, because that train's leaving the station by the age of 30. Oh yeah, court jester, let's get real. No women in this day and age would ever stay with someone they can't take resources from. Pretty much, especially in today's materialistic culture. It takes a very, very specific woman, and I know a lot of women think that they're the exception, but especially in this culture, it's like looking for a snow leopard or Bigfoot. It's like, yeah, there are still snow leopards out there, but in my life, really, how much of my time and effort am I going to spend trying to find something that I may never see, let alone capture? I'd rather be realistic and get on with life that I can sort of really experience. Not pause my life until I can maybe find that unicorn. The unicorn used to be that it wasn't hard to find a woman. The unicorn was someone that matched with you. Now the unicorn is just finding a person, not necessarily that matches with you, but just is a nice person. And then after that, they still might not match with you, but you can't even find someone who's a decent person these days in terms of values. With Palette Warrior, I can't see where the value lies in modern relationships. You are constantly trying to defuse a ticking time bomb, be it when the woman is young, middle-aged, or senior. Yeah, I've heard that metaphor. It is this constant walking on eggshells, particularly when you're with the wrong kind of person, which is the majority of women, especially if you're a kind of guy that's on my channel or is self-reflective, is philosophically inclined. Most relationships, like, it's constantly diffusing time bombs because women want more and more. They never want a routine. The only routine most women out there want is you there and the stability of some kind of relationships, but everything else is variety. So it's always a ticking time bomb from a guy's point of view because he wants stability. Like, I don't want things to keep changing and me sprinting forward for her in terms of variety and new this, new that, and shopping and holidays and blah, 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 blah. Now, a man's quite content watching the same movie over and over again. A woman isn't. She's watched one movie. It's very rare that she's going to re-watch that movie again. Most women don't like watching the same movie again, literally or figuratively in life with another man. You got to be a different movie every time. It's insane. That's why I'll only accept romantic women in my life, which I don't care about that much in at this point in my life. If they resemble a best friend, it's the only way I'll even consider it. The fact that it's virtually impossible to get that with a woman, it just kind of takes the weight off my shoulders. It's like, cool. They can't even meet that standard. Cool. Great. I'll continue to be around my family and friends, make videos, and be involved in my creative pursuits. I'm very content in my life. If I can't trust and respect them like a best friend, I'm not. I think that's one thing men would do well in considering. Get rid of the notion of loving her like a girlfriend. Love her like a best friend that you want to sleep with, that you're biologically attracted to. Because it's too dangerous out there otherwise. And yes, that's almost impossible to find, but good. Because I say it's about the only standard that's healthy. KG Jung says, well, that would explain why asking hypothetical questions are often interpreted as personal attacks by some women. Yeah, they don't see it as an abstract question. If someone asks me, man or woman, do you think men such and such, I'll be like, I'll balance it as a third person observer and say like, oh, that's true, or I don't think so. Whereas if you ask that, it's like, me, woman, me. It's a personal question. Everything's personal. And if it's not personal, they don't get it. And women will try and interpret impersonal questions personally so that they can converse. So you'll notice that you're not asking a personal question. You're trying to talk about something abstract or impersonal. And women's response will somehow be self-referential. It's like, yeah, okay, but I'm not asking that. I'm asking from a very, from a dispassionate, abstract third-person perspective, not about you and me, but about a general concept. Yeah, but it is true. It's why a lot of hypothetical questions are interpreted by women as an attack on women. I notice it all the time in my channels. I talk about women, or I talk about my perspective on the idea of men and women in certain ways. It's like, do you hate women? It's like they're always looking from a perspective that it's not what you're saying. They don't listen to the topic. It's somehow imbued through, like women, like me. I don't want to face the abstract concept of how women are and how I am a woman that relates in the concept of women. It's too complex for them. Men are very basic in certain aspects in life. Women are very basic in that mental aspect. They're just self-referential, a one-trick pony. It's very rare a woman isn't like that. There are some women, but again, much like trying to find a partner you can trust, a romantic one, trying to find a woman you can intellectually talk to without her being offended and taking everything personally is extremely hard too. Dion says, there is a saying in my country, Prva ljubav zaborava nema, you never forget your first love. That's a rough translation. I think that every future love is based on the first. Heroin addicts continue to use drugs because they want to feel that first high. We try to recreate a better love that follows the last one. The truth is we will never feel the same like the first one. Yeah, there's a lot of this, the first love. And I reflected on this. Like my first love, I don't have good, like my first love was my worst. So I think your first one affects you whether it's positive or negative. My first love was negative. So my first love was a good calibrating factor of what I don't want. Whereas some guys who experience positive aspects in their first love is like they're always chasing those in the next one. So for good or bad, I think it can be a true statement. It's not just if they were a great person and you regret and no one else will live up to them. There's also the negative where my first love was not the person she pretended to be, and I don't want any of what she was. So it was a negative of not chasing her, but chasing the opposite now. So there's that too. She was very material. She didn't love me for me. She put on an act. And so what I chase is not her, but the opposite of her. So that comes into play too. Good point. Yeah, protect yourself, guys. Don't be paranoid. But don't pretend to be in boyfriend mode. Treat women like a man as much as you can. You know, really pay attention to what's coming out of their mouth, not just what you want to put into it. Lad says, I'm glad I never had any good ones, as in relationships. I don't miss any past relationship. I don't know if I should say lucky for you or not. I'm lucky that I've had a couple of very good ones. So I know what a good relationship looks like, and I know what love looks like, as well as I know what love looks like with people in my life, my sister, my brother, my mother and father. I've had great examples of what support and honesty and a good relationship looks like. So I've got a good contrast, and I've experienced it. I've had a couple of ones that reflect more what I know love to be or what it looks like. But the majority have not. Yeah, the majority of them are a dumpster fire. Krista, what is your thoughts on honesty in today's society, both with women and people in general? It seems to me that honesty does not mean much anymore. It doesn't, because you need to personally value it yourself. Sincerity and honesty from yourself. You can't just expect it from others. So you can always, just in conversational terms, or you interact with another person, you throw out some scraps, some crumbs of honesty, and you see if the person plays the same game. If they don't, if they just expect it. Like I mentioned, a lot of times in modern romantic relationships, it's generally a one-way street of man going and giving towards women and her just receiving. If it's not reciprocal, if you want to be honest and talk honestly and be the honest you, and the other person's just a cardboard cutout, they're acting the role of a boyfriend or a boss or a friend or whatever, but they're always holding a lot back. You need to be self-aware enough to know what honesty looks like for you. You can't just expect it from others. And if you don't see it from others, that's you being self-reflective enough to kind of know, oh, they're not. Or I know why this person doesn't gel with me. That's why I don't get along with them. They're not honest. When I talk this way, they don't talk that way. They're not interested in this. So you can't just be sort of this helpless person going, well, people aren't honest with me, or you need to sort of proactively value honesty and sincerity. I've got 420 concurrent viewers at the moment. Welcome, everyone. We're nearly at the 2-hour mark, so I want to wrap this up. We're getting a bit long. Any last questions or super chats, please throw them in, and I'll try and answer them. Otherwise, let's head for the finish line on this live stream today, guys. Nick says, do you think that it's inevitable for most, if not all, women to monkey branch these days? They've got the instinct in them. Again, it's look, men have got the propensity for violence. It's the person, his restraints, how he was brought up, his morals, his values, how his hardwire is internally. So a lot of it's very personal, the individual person, but it's a matter of being honest when you interact with a person. You can't go into relationships kind of being mute and the quiet, nice person that just says yes all the time, and then being disappointed and saying, oh, well, everyone monkey branches, or everyone's violent, or everyone uses everybody, but you never speak up. If you're a neutral person that says nothing, and a person can write any script on you and you don't fight back, or you don't say anything back and write your own script, then you're allowing yourself to be sort of that blank canvas that everyone writes on. So yeah, women's instinct is to monkey branch for survival's sake. Her security wants survival and safety and, security and all those things. It's not inevitable, but also, like a friend, say with your friends, you can't sort of be a neutral friend that never does anything, never says anything, is never there for them, never pays. Someone else always pays for you. At some point, you're just going to seem to other people like, why am I've got better friends than this person that's never there for me. It's not inevitable that women will monkey branch, but they've always got the instinct. It's more to do with working out what kind of morals and values a person has. Everyone's always going to monkey branch, even men. I'm always going to monkey branch to a better life if I'm with a woman that's not giving me what I want. But if I'm not being honest with her all the time and saying, I want this, I'm leaving if I don't get this. You're being a prick. You're not being fair. You've changed. If you're not voicing it, if you're staying silent, I'll monkey branch to a different life. I'll replace her with a better life. If she's changed, if she's become a person that's not nice anymore, and I'm voicing it, and if I'm commenting on it, I'll monkey branch too. It's not just women. So it's your interaction with the person. James, have you seen Jennifer Aniston? She's over 40. That's interesting. I was talking with my sister about it last night. Jennifer Aniston has generally always been likable. Think about that. Like, even myself, I never liked watching Friends, but generally, even though I never was watching any of her stuff, I watched one or two of her rom-com movies. She always comes across, the characters she plays, and I don't know what she's like in real life, she comes across as the girl you date, or for you guys that want it, marry. There's a difference between someone who's hot and someone who's beautiful or kind. She comes across as the latter. The latter, you want to sleep with her, but you want to have a family with her. You want her as your girlfriend. You want to have a relationship with someone like Jennifer Aniston, the characters she might have played. Not the ditzy dumb things, but the kind of the feminine, open, honest qualities. She comes across as very open in the character she plays. She doesn't come off as this sexual vamp, this sort of aloof, mysterious person. She doesn't come off as mysterious at all. She comes off as open and beautiful. Most women, I'm going to do a video about this. Most women, when you push them, you say choose between being beautiful or being sexy, most will want to be sexy. But her, a personality like Jennifer Aniston, she values being beautiful. Whether she consciously does or not, I don't know what she's like as a real person, but the characters, they're portraying beauty. Yeah, she's good looking too, but it's not just sexy. Women who are just sexy, they're the ones that give us problems. We gravitate towards sexy too much. But when you start valuing what's important, you can actually you can disregard beauty a lot easier. I realized that in my 30s, that ostensibly the beautiful stripper, not beautiful, the sexy stripper type of hormonally charged women that every guy will be like, oh, she's like heroin. I started to feel like, no, don't trust her. Stay away from her. She's like a hot stove. And it was when at the same time I was valuing reading and philosophy, and I'm not going to make the same mistakes I did in my youth. So you've got to start valuing this stuff. Then you're going to start valuing when you see the values and qualities of someone like the character that Jennifer Aniston portrayed. Patrick, what's your education in biology, psychology? What qualifies you? Nothing. I'm just a guy with my own opinions. So this is just my videos are more or less a video journal of my ideas and conversations I like having with guys. The kind of conversations I'd like to have with another guy face to face, and sometimes in my past, the kind of conversations I would have liked to have had with someone when I needed it. And hopefully, I give something back into the ether of guys that might appreciate some of the thoughts and maybe the mentorship that I may or may not be able to provide to a guy that's in that spot that I would have appreciated having someone talk to me with. But I have no qualifications. I'm just a guy with some ideas and thoughts. James says there's a big list of women over 40 that are very beautiful. Yeah, they are. But again, they're very beautiful, but then again, most guys are past having kids, or if you do want to, like, you're not going to have kids with them anymore. You'd rather have them as a nice friend. You'd rather have them as someone platonic in your life. Okay. Whoa. Brandon, thank you very much for the donation. Whoa, there's a few donations here. Let me go through them. Sorry if I've missed any. The feed jumped and it gets rid of the previous ones if it jumps too much. So I'm sorry if I have missed them. Papa says, Human, how do you understand the word freedom? Because if we take, for example, working for someone, you are working for money and you are starting to be controlled by it. That's true, but look, life's just a bunch of trade-offs. You never get complete freedom. You know, when the end comes, you're completely free. But you need to make money. You need to interact with people. You need to risk uncomfortable conversations. So there's no complete, white noise, a complete stillness of freedom. Life is just trade-offs. It's how you navigate those and what principles you put in place for yourself, that when you're interacting, you're not being pulled by the world, but you're doing some of the pulling as well. You're pulling some of that freedom in your direction and you're doing it consciously. Aos logs, if women don't genuinely appreciate symbolic tennis match like relationships with men, how is it possible to forge anything substantial outside hooking up? Well, hooking up, most people are doing because they don't want intimacy. They're showing it through their actions. If you do, keep the values. If no one passes them, stay on your own or hook up if you feel like you want to. But I would say the more you hook up as well, you get used to that. It makes it harder and harder for you to actually. What I've noticed from guys I've spoken to and for stints of time where I have just sort of said, I don't want a relationship. I just want to concentrate on other things in life and I'll hook up here and there. It imprints on you over the long term. And if you've spent decades just hooking up and not having relationships, you will not know what it's like to, even if you want to have a relationship, your reflexes and your figurative muscle structure in terms of relating to people has only been baked in by pumping and dumping. William, can women be redeemed from their current situation, or are Western women damaged goods and past the point of no return for men? It's up to women. I think men need to focus on their own values and virtues, and after you know better, especially in your 20s, you don't keep giving women with no values and virtues that don't continually prove it, that they can be honorable and trustworthy. You don't trust them. It's men need to sort of change the way they think and act in the nicest possible way. You got to stop caring so much about women. Whether women are going to change, whether women will allow you to do a X, Y, and Z. Who cares? I care about what you can do. Renato, thank you very much for the donation. He says, "Whoa, big jump, human 2020." In subscriber count, yeah. I don't know why. During the lockdown, I had a lot of time to produce a lot of videos, so maybe that had something to do with it. I had more time to produce more videos per week. And maybe some of you guys, I started to, at the end of my video, say, please hit the bell icon, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. That might have helped. I'm not sure. The live streams might have helped. So there's a lot of factors that might have helped and gone a long way, but let's keep it going. I want to be able to sort of have these kind of conversations and with more guys. I want more guys to not that I need it, but I'm enjoying more guys contributing to conversations and leaving more comments in the comments section. Different mature guys, like mentoring younger guys who are more mature than their age, mentoring guys their age that are less mentally capable. Just guys talking to each other. So hopefully the bigger my channel gets, the more men can talk to each other. Whereas the smaller these kind of channels are, men can't find other men to talk to, because there's still a lot of guys that come to my channel and go like, I'm glad I found your channel. I didn't know other guys were going through the same thing or talking the same way or experiencing the same thing. In a society where men are invisible, they don't have friends and they've got no one to talk to because they're censored in a lot of their language, it's like it's refreshing to find other guys that are like, no, you're not insane. If anything, you're the one of the few rational people out there. You're just not allowed to speak. And the other guys show you that you can. Emilia, Sifu, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Vaughn says, your thoughts on Kohlberg's stages of moral development? I don't know anything about it, sorry. Might be something I need to look up. James, I'm not a very spiritual guy. Yeah. If you can do without it, all well and good. But a lot of times you need to be, especially when you need to be. The Wolfen Moser. Glad I. What's your name? The WTF no nonames. Glad I found your channel. Nothing to do with girls. I was trying to accept that a lifelong friend had turned into a parasitic asshole. Listening to you talk about relationships helped me. Thanks, brother. That's great to hear. It's not just about romantic relationships. It's everything in your life is a relationship. Where you spend your time is a relationship. The top, we've heard about the top 5 people you spend your time with are your biggest influence or the relationships you're having. The top 5 YouTube channels you keep coming back to. The top 5, the hobbies you spend all your time with. They're your closest relationships. That's what you're getting affected by. That's what informs you. So yeah, start looking at everything as a relationship in your life. Then you'll start seeing that there's a philosophical baseline that they all need to sort of play fairly by. The golden rule can apply to all of them. Bad jobs, bad romantic relationships, bad friendships, family members. The back and forth tennis match, when you start applying it across the board, your life gets better and it makes more sense and you feel more in control. Brandon, thank you for the donation. T or F? A near minimum wage man is nigh invisible. What is T or F? Sorry. I'm good at a lot of modern acronyms, but not all of them. I don't spend enough time texting. Hey, Victor. And Samagalarian, abandon sincere communication when communicating with the insincere. Yes. If the communication's not sincere, you recognize that and you don't. Again, I think Stephen Molyneux said it. He goes, "Don't raise your standards be higher than the person you're dealing with." I think that's a good way to see things. All right, let's wrap this up, guys. Final questions and it's over. We're just over 2 hours. My goal is to do a live stream in an hour and a half. Probably not going to happen, but hey, I'm not complaining. I like it that we get so many good questions and conversations. Why me, not me? He says, come off social media and focus on yourself. You can be easily tempted to check on an ex, which will slow your progress from moving on. Yes. And social media also, they don't want you moving on. They want their eyeballs on social media. There's a few tests that have shown that Facebook, they're anti-relationship because they see if you're a regular user, then all of a sudden you drop off. most likely it's because you found a relationship in the real world. Most likely it's romantic or a different course of life. You've consciously decided you're taking a social media detox. It doesn't care. And what it does, most likely, is it shows you a feed of, hey, your ex Nancy just posted, and it'll feed it to your phone. So it'll want to lure you back. So social media is anti-relationships, platonic and romantic. It wants you on your own looking at a screen. It wants you having a relationship with your screen, not a relationship with people. I'm just quickly flying through the chat and seeing if there's any highlighted questions. MPAD Jr. Should I toss the book she filled in saying all the great things about me from earlier in the relationship, even though she says differently now? Should I use that book as a frame of reference? If it's over, my personal feeling, I've made a video on this, is have the funeral. Burn all the stuff. Don't lock it away because mentally, you know, you in your weak moments, you can always go to it. Have the funeral, let it go. As Mel Gibson said in Braveheart, burn it. Christopher, do you think it's possible to find the one in the next 10 years? I have no idea, really. It's harder in this environment than it used to be for our parents and grandparents. Let's put it that way. Compared to our grandparents, I would say yes. Us, in this moment, I have no idea. I can't predict the future. Sorry, man. Lantiditis, hey human, what's your take on best friends that will hurry to help for an emergency, yet I get no time for them when it comes to spend time to stay out of my head? When it comes to spend time to stay out of my head. Yeah, like a really good friend will understand you, understand your conversations, like what you need, what you don't need. Like I've got a very good friend that's, I don't get into deep philosophical discussions with him, but he's not that kind of person, but he's been a lifelong friend. But in every other aspect, he's always been there for me and I'm there for him. There's a word for it, not compartmentalized friends, but there's certain friends that they're not a complete Swiss Army knife, but they're loyal. They've got great qualities that a friend should have, but you're not always lucky enough to find a friend that checks every box, but the important foundational boxes they should. Similarly with a romantic one, they might not check every box you had prior to meeting someone. You might have had a fantasy list. But if your fantasy list included a lot of moral and virtuous aspects of like kindness and empathy and even just a lot of important things that objectively before, during, and after you still hold as high values, I think it's similar to sort of what you sort of need from friends. There's no point having friends that, well, they're the only ones you have, but I don't like spending time with them, but I don't like being alone either. That's not good either. EOS Logs says, if it's not personal, women don't get it. That's very telling on why women aren't particularly philosophical. That's right. Because philosophy is kind of the abstract connected to personal, but the abstract thought process is first. With a woman, the personal thought process is first. Sonia, as a woman, I find your content very insightful and truthful. Thank you. Okay. Chris, who hurt you, human? Many people. Point is not to continue to let them hurt you. Oh, Almond goes, human, what's in your cup? Well, that's obvious. It's water. And this one is just coffee. Aldi coffee from a pod machine in my home. Why me, not me? He asked me, why did your good ones end? As in my good relationships, why did they end? Without going into much detail, basically, they wanted something else. Our lives went in two different directions, but what they wanted would completely change our relationships, and neither of us were willing to budge. But they were nice people. One was the best. The other one was a little bit immature, and I knew I couldn't rely on her building a life forward. She just had the mentality of a young girl, a sweet young girl, but one I couldn't trust when I needed the support of a mature woman. So that was a shame. Stephen says, my personal experience has been the better her relationship with her father, the better her relationship with the next closest masculine figure, me, will be. That's a good one too. Observe how she treats her family members, friends, not just kind of people she doesn't have to have a relationship, like a waiter and waitress. That's a good indication what's below the surface. If she treats people she has no reason to treat well badly, that's very obvious. But take a look at how she treats her mother and father and siblings, whether there's a reason that she treats them badly, as in they're objectively awful people, or if there's actually no good reason, she's just an irritated person around them, she can't stand them. If she's been raised with good, respectful relationships between her father and her brothers and siblings and so forth, or if she doesn't, that's very important. Pay attention to her relationship with her father, how she talks about her father. Even if her father's passed away, how does she talk about him? How does she talk about her mother? You can glean a lot about how she sees men and women from how she talks about and relates to her family members. Because when you look at it, when you nest with a woman, your biology wants to recreate what you're used to create that environment. If she rolls her eyes at her dad and she doesn't respect and love her dad in a reverent way, especially if her father is a nice person, even if he's strict, you could tell he really cares and protects for his daughter, but she's a brat. Don't ignore that. You're not going to be the exception. You're not. You might think you will be, you won't. Renato, not diving into geopolitics, but which would be your top 3 countries to live in? Yeah, if my family wasn't here, I'd probably move to somewhere like Prague, or somewhere more remote, like a northern country, like Iceland, or sort of northern Canada, not a major city, because I like the landscape and the environment. Oh, New Zealand is another one. So colder, greener climates, or cooler. I'm not a hot climate person, and more remote. I wouldn't move to a... Although Prague is a city, I know, but from what I've seen and people I've spoken to who have been there, it's more of a small town that's really big, a country town, like a small city. Although it's become more and more popular, so by the time, if even now had an opportunity to live there, it would probably become a city that I wouldn't want to be in. I don't know, but yeah, off the top of my head. Vaughan, yeah, I don't know anything about Kohlberg's stages of moral development. Sorry, not yet. I haven't read anything on it. Human what? Sifu, what's your take on Queen Gambit? Is that part of the agenda? Feminist? I have no idea what you're talking about. Sorry, I'm not sure. Can you phrase it as like just a general? I don't know what Queen Gambit is. Part of the agenda. It's all very broad and vague. Sorry. Piera 831. She still wants a sexual relationship while she has a boyfriend. How do I break free? Well, it's like you want to, but you don't want to let go of the cocaine. You want to get fit, but you want to still eat donuts. What's more important, getting fit or eating donuts? It's your choice, man. I know what I choose, and you know what you want to choose, but I'm not going to give you permission just to indulge in something you may not want to. You know what you want to do. Joseph, Jennifer Aniston does seem like a cool chick. She does. That's why she's a girl that other girls like and other men like is a good girl. Think about guys that men respect, guys that other men that we respect, that we want to be like as role models, and women want to be with. They're a really good calibrating factor to aim at in terms of like virtue and, you know, trying to aim towards. A lot of women, this is a dumb thing, like women aren't, a lot of women don't self-reflect enough to kind of go, why was Jennifer Aniston so popular among women and men? They'll just go, oh, it's because of her hair. That's how self-referential they are. It's not any of the virtue aspects of her, how she acts, what kind of personality she exudes, her moral characteristics. No, it's the hair. It's just the beauty. Guys just find her hot. No. It's because she's girlfriend material. She's not just someone we're gonna just, you know. That's the difference. That's why everyone, even no matter how beautiful Angelina Jolie is, people want Jennifer Aniston more. People think Brad Pitt's an idiot because he should have stayed with Jennifer Aniston. Men and women think that. No matter how much more beautiful, we can all agree, Angelina Jolie, her face, she's just not from this world. She's gorgeous. But I would like 10 out of 10 times pick someone who was overall, as a person, someone like Jennifer Aniston. Angelina Jolie is just a beautiful mess. Not a beautiful, it's just sexy mess. There's not much beautiful about her at all. You got to be careful what words you use. Whoa, big jump. Again. Oh, sorry, it's jumped a lot. So if I've missed any super chats or whatever, please let me know, guys. Celestial Woodway, thank you for the donation. He says, I always thought of Australia as a hyper-masculine society. Apparently I am wrong. Yeah, now it is. It's not as hyper-masculine as it used to be. Please explain. Guess I fell for the Hollywood stereotypes. I think a lot of it has to do with Australia's she'll be right, mate attitude. We're very relaxed about things. We're very chilled out, kind of. We don't worry about too much. And as a consequence, we let a lot of the blue-haired university feminist kind of things come in because we think, we don't care. Who cares? Be idiots. Be a clown. Those clowns grow up and now they're controlling everything. So I think it's a lot to do with our very relaxed, we don't worry too much about it, which, funnily enough, was a very masculine approach. We're not afraid of a lot. We don't care about a lot. We've got these poisonous snakes and spiders. We're not afraid of it. Yeah, who cares? Feminists, we've got spiders and snakes in this country. What do we care about these morons? Like, let them make this stupid song and dance with their red and purple hair and their hairy armpits. What do we care? They can die alone. But our relaxed attitude, I didn't think contended for the fact that these people would proliferate and be the voice of society, educating young women. Algorithm for the win. Yeah. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Give me a thumbs up, guys. Yeah, Saturday night, it's for most of you. I'm on Sunday morning here at the moment, so it's Saturday night for the majority of my viewership, which is from the US. Don't forget, you guys, you can sort of you can chat if you've got a microphone on my Discord with each other, and I drop in from time to time when I can. And don't forget our time differences. Most of my subscribers are from the US, so when you guys are awake, I'm asleep. So that's the hard thing. But sometimes I catch you early in the morning or very, very late at night if I'm up. But feel free with each other. Drop into my Discord and have a chat about these things if you've got a microphone. Nobody, thank you for the donation. He says, in order to be with a woman in a relationship, you have to make your world smaller. Did you find yourself limiting your life to serve women? Yeah, in some I did. And that's when you know, when you have to make your life smaller, you're spending more time together, but if you're spending more of your time in the way that she wants the time being spent, and by dint of that, it's less of your time, you are making your world smaller. It's good to pay attention to that. Is your world smaller because the relationship is all about what she wants? I'd agree with that sentiment. But the point is to know when it's the wrong relationship, when you feel like your world's being smaller. Because any good relationship, job, friends, family, lovers, they should add to your life. They should be the cherry or the icing on top. They should not detract. They shouldn't make your world smaller, they should make it bigger. So that's a very good point. Good concept to keep in mind. Is your world shrinking? And do you feel more claustrophobic? Or can you breathe better? Does she add to your life? Is your world expanding? Is it better? Is there more color? Does the volume get turned up? Do you sleep better? Are you living another life? Or is your life just taking a vitamin boost? But it's still your life. Remember, highlight the questions, guys. I haven't watched what the Queen Gambit on Netflix is. Sorry, I haven't caught that yet, so I can't answer that question. Delete your Facebook ASAP. Maybe. Leon Rooker, thank you for the donation. I'm very, very appreciative. He goes, thanks for the marathon live stream. Thanks for listening. Thanks for dropping in, guys. We had a good number. We had over 400 people. Animal says, why do women avoid accountability when they are responsible for a mistake? Because men in society keep letting them avoid responsibility. Biology, it's nature. Rare is the woman that takes accountability. Rare is the woman that says, yeah, my fault. Or sorry. How often have you heard sorry? And then her actually reflecting on knowing why she was sorry, why she made a mistake. That's very rare. Sifu, I think I answered your question. I haven't watched the Queen, whatever it was, on Netflix. If that was your question. Some of your sentence structure, guys, I can't make sense of how you're typing these things. And I don't know if it's the autocorrect if you guys are typing on your phones, or if it's just bad grammar. It's not just learning to think and speak better, it's learning to spell better. Notwithstanding you guys who English isn't your first language, alright? I'll give you guys a pass. How do you think any great empire collapses? Once it's become an empire, giving women unearned rights when times are safe. If you look in history, it happened in Rome, it's happening in the West, in recent times. It tends to be the way things go. When times are easy, then all of a sudden women want to come to the fore and be in charge, but not being in charge of times when they're dangerous, where they need to put skin in the game. It's being in charge of men, which they know they already have control over. Ooh, how convenient, huh? That's really brave. Controlling people, controlling puppy dogs. I keep sipping do you guys do that? I wasn't thinking. I keep sipping an empty cup over and over again. Thank you, One Man's Way, for your donation. He says, what's your thoughts on revenge on your ex by personal success? As in you get on with your life. I wouldn't do it for her because, you know it'd be disappointing? Your drive is to make her feel bad and want to get back with you? If that's your drive, you'll probably take her back. Because for her, like, most likely she's not going to care. She's going to be with someone else. And even if you get revenge and she's sorry, you're going to be sitting there going, yeah, I achieved this and you were the driving factor. Now I don't want you. I don't know. I think it's a stupid thing. The best revenge on your former life, the way you were, and whether or not people learn their lesson by looking at your successes as their own problem, is you getting on and having a good life for yourself. I wouldn't do it, her being the driving force that you want to make sorry. Because say you achieve it, afterwards, you're going to feel flat. It's like, okay, she was sorry. Now what? I don't want her anyway. Mark Solstafir says, fill humans cup. I made a video on that. I don't want anyone to fill my cup, thank you. Neither should any of you. All these questions about how do I think this community or politics, like these big things, have affected this, they do affect it, but it's up to you to how you're going to react and how you're going to live your life, because you've got a lot of freedom in your immediate life to say things, say no, say yes, adopt things, not adopt them, grab onto certain things in life, let go of certain in your life. They're the real things you can affect. But concentrating predominantly on big things like politics and all that sort of stuff, and concentrate on the personal, guys, I would suggest. Spec Ops, any philosophers? Epictetus. All of them, the major ones have a lot. Epictetus, Aristotle, Plato. Plato's good. All the general philosophers are fairly good. But then again, there are some philosophers that, like Dostoevsky, I think is a good philosopher, even though he's known as a writer. So there's quite a few. Charles Bukowski, I think, is a good philosopher. Jason Spencer, thank you very much for the donation, man. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. It's 2.5 hours. well, it was good. I'll catch you guys again next week. We'll do it again, and hopefully a few videos before then. But this was a nice one, discussing and going over some of the comments in my last couple of videos, which I think is something a lot of guys experience, the anchor of the last X, and trying to move on for it and find cognitive ways to kind of go forward, practical ways. So anyway, I hope this week's videos and this live stream was useful. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff, and share my videos on your social media if you can. I'll catch you guys soon. Bye.